Child, we have the next subtopic, that is scope of variable. But before knowing scope of variable, we must have an idea about variable. Let's discuss the types of variable first. Variables are categorized into two categories. First is your primitive variable and second is your reference variable. Primitive variables are used to represent primitive value. Now all of you know that primitive value means int, it can be long, char, double, float, so on. For example, int x equal to 100. Here int x is your primitive variable. Second is your reference variable. Reference variable are used to refer object. Let's have an example. If you have a class ABC, A1 is your reference variable. See, ABC, A1 equal to new ABC. This is a procedure to create an object. Now here A1 is your reference variable. On the basis of position and declaration, variables are further classified into three categories: local variable, instance variable, and static variable. Scope of variable means life of variable. The region where a variable can be accessed is called scope of variable, which means that in a program wherever your variable can be accessed or in whichever place the variable can be accessed, that is called scope of variable. And up to when a variable lives and can be accessed is called lifetime of variable. This line means that the scope of variable or the life of variable will be as longer as the scope of variable. Now let's discuss categories of variables in detail. We have the three types of variable as I told you: local variable, instance variable, and static variable. Local variables are created inside a block or constructor or method. It means that they can be accessed only in a block, only in a specific block, or in a specific constructor, or in a specific method. Initialization is necessary before using it. Local variable is only variable where initialization is necessary. But in the rest of the variables, initialization is mandatory. Now we have instance variable. Value of variable is varied from object to object. Object to object idea you will have it when I will explain you this thing with the help of example. It cannot be accessed from static area directly. Static variable is not varied from object to object. Now see here, in instance variable, value of variable is varied from object to object, but in static variable, value is not varied from object to object. And the second point is, it is also known as class level variable. Now let's have an explanation of a local variable with the help of example. Here I had created a program, that is class ABC public static void main string arg, then int I 10. Now see, this is a specific block, and another one is void m1. This is your method, so, or a constructor you can consider it. Int y equal to 8. Here int I and int y is your local variable. These can be accessed. Int I 10 can be accessed in this much block and int y can be accessed in this much block. These variables cannot be reused in the another block. So here int I and int y is your local variable. Next we have instance variable. Scope of instance variable is equal to scope of object. It means that as longer object exists in a program, that much time your instance variable will also exist in your program. It should be declared within the class directly but outside of any block or constructor or method. Now let's understand this thing first. We have an example, that is class ABC int I 100. Now here this is mandatory. This is what? Mandatory. It's up to you whether you want to provide the value to int I or not. Here I had provided the value of int I, that is 100. Public static void main string arg system.out.println I. Can anybody tell me that what will be the output of this? First of all, this programming is wrong. Child, if you will run this programming, you will get compile error. What you will get? Compile error. Reason is because we had said that scope of instance variable is equal to scope of object. If I want to run this program, first I need to create object and then only I am able to run this program. So let's create an object. After public static void main, let's write ABC A1 equal to new ABC. Right, here we have the object, and instead of this we will write system.out.println A1.I. A1 is our object and I the value which I had provided here. So here your output will be I equal to 100. Right. As I had told you that the int I equal to 100, this is your mandatory, which means that it's up to you whether you want to give the value to I or not. Let's have another example without providing value. So if we have variable that is I and I didn't provide any value to it, in that case ABC1 equal to new ABC. Here if I want to give the value A1.I equal to 200, pardon me please, let's have the discussion over there. ABC A2, here I'm using two objects, new ABC, right? So A2 I is 400. Now see here the value of I is varied. Here the two objects are there. Here the value of A1 is 200 and the value of A2 is 400. Understand? So understand that khatam karta. Child, next we have your static variable. I think instance variable are clear to all of you. Now static variable, scope of variable is equal to scope of class. Now see here, as longer as you have a class, that longer you have your static variable. Let's have an example again. Class ABC. Here I had said that static string college Christ the King Convent. Christ the King Convent. Let's imagine that one of the college name is Christ the King Convent. Now I would like to have a program in which the student ID of each child is different, but the name of the college or a school or any another institute remain same. So what I'll write here, static string college CTKC. This is your static variable. What it is? Static variable. Next I said that int std or student ID. Now student ID is going to be changed every time, but the name of the institute will remain same. So int student ID is your instance variable. What it is? Instance variable. Let's see here. We have ABC1, new ABC, then ABC2. A1 is my first object, A2 is my second object. Student ID of A1 is 1 and student ID of A2 is 2. Now here, see, A1 and A2 might having the different IDs. It can be 1, it can be 2. But both of their school name or institute name is same. Right. So, scope is equal to scope of class. Now let's have and let's summarize all the topics. Today we discuss about the definition of method, then we discuss your need of method, mechanism, method prototype, method signature, variables, types of variables. All these points we discussed today. So that's all for today, and I hope to meet you again in next week. Stay home, stay safe, and be up and doing. Thank you.